We all think we know the word hustle. We talk about our side hustles, about hustling to get ahead. But what if I told you that in a city like Nairobi, this word carries the weight of history, community, and, well, survival itself? Okay, let's really get into this.
First, I want you to come with me to Nairobi. Picture the Central Business District, the CBD. It's 5 p.m., the workday's wrapping up, and the air is just electric. You've got these graffiti-covered minibus taxis, they call them matatus, shouting for passengers, weaving through these massive crowds. This right here, this is the stage where our story of hustle urbanism kicks off.
So to really get what hustling means here, you can't just look it up in a dictionary. Nope. We have to start with the people who live and breathe it every single day.
So meet Mike. He's a young guy from Mathare, one of Nairobi's biggest neighborhoods. He actually co-founded a youth group for waste management, but his real passion, it's activist theater. And when you ask him what he's up to, his answer is always simple, just hustling. For him, it's this whole economic system that defines life in the ghetto, a word he and others use to describe their own neighborhood, kind of reclaiming it with a sense of identity. And then there's Andrew. After his morning job, he spends his afternoons at a super busy roundabout, hailing down matatas trying to find them one last passenger. For every customer he gets, the conductor gives him 20 Kenyan shillings. We're talking like 20 cents. It's a classic side hustle, right? But for Andrew, those few extra shillings mean he can go home without stress. He's a self-proclaimed hustler. So here's the really crucial takeaway. In Nairobi, hustle is so much more than just a word. It's a way of life. It's a kind of work. It's even become a political identity. I mean, back in 2022, a presidential candidate ran a whole campaign calling Kenya the Hustle Nation, trying to connect with the millions of Kenyans for whom hustling is just everything.
Okay, so those stories give you a real feel for it, right? But what are we actually talking about when we say hustle? Let's break down how the book Hustle Urbanism defines it. To really understand this, we need to ground ourselves in a specific place, and that place is Mathare. It's one of Nairobi's oldest popular neighborhoods, and you could say it's the heartland of the hustle economy. It's a place where people have had to forge their own way for generations.
Mathare is what the book calls a self-help city. Now, the key thing to get about a self-help city is that it's not about being passive. When the government is absent or just plain unreliable, people don't just sit around and wait. They create their own systems for literally everything. For services, for work, for community, this is the very soil where hustle urbanism is born out of pure necessity.
You see, hustle isn't just one single thing. It's really four interconnected elements working together. First, it's a narrative. It's the story of how you get by when you don't have a steady paycheck. Second, it's a practice. It's the active, dynamic way you provide for yourself and for others. Third, it's a social bond, a whole system built on relationships and helping each other out. And finally, it's a disposition, this kind of spirit of resistance and making your own way.
Okay, but here's where it gets really interesting. This word, the one that feels so completely essential to Nairobi's identity, didn't actually start there. Not even close. It has this fascinating global history. Let's trace its journey, because it's pretty wild. So the story of this word starts way back in the 17th century with the Dutch word husselen, which just meant to shake. Fast forward a few centuries to 1960s Jim Crow America, and it takes on this powerful new meaning, describing survival and resistance against oppression. Then, bam, culture just takes over. In 1975, it explodes into a global craze as a disco dance. By the 90s, hip-hop artists had totally claimed it, making it the central theme of struggle and ambition. And that brings us right up to the 2010s, where Silicon Valley grabbed it and rebranded it as the side hustle.
And this slide just illustrates that journey perfectly, doesn't it? On the left, you've got Malcolm X in 1965 talking about hustling as a raw form of survival for people completely shut out of the system. Then on the right, a 2016 Uber ad makes it sound like this cool optional way to make extra cash. I mean, that is a radical transformation of meaning. So how in the world did this concept land in Nairobi? Well, it came through Sheng, this super dynamic mix of Swahili and English that the urban youth speak. And here's the cool part. They didn't just borrow the word, they creolized it. They wove it into their own language, creating new forms like tuna hustle, which means we hustle, making it a collective, shared thing.
So you might be thinking, okay, this is a fascinating story about Nairobi, but what does it have to do with me? Well, it turns out a lot, actually. The core ideas of the hustle economy are becoming more and more relevant everywhere, in ways you'll probably recognize.
I mean, just think about it for a second. We see echoes of this all over the place. The whole rise of the gig economy, that's a kind of hustle.
That growing feeling of insecurity from casual labor, the constant need to find work that isn't just a traditional salary. For millions of people, being an entrepreneur isn't some glamorous choice anymore. It's a survival tool. And when public services fail and you see communities setting up their own mutual aid networks, yep, that's a form of self-organized provisioning. These aren't just little trends. They are the basic features of hustle urbanism popping up in all of our lives.
And this brings us to a really powerful final point. All these strategies that were born on the urban margins of cities like Nairobi, they aren't just about coping. They're about innovation, the resourcefulness, that deep reliance on community, the sheer resilience of these economies. They actually hold some critical lessons for all of us as we try to figure out an increasingly uncertain future.
So, I'll just leave you with this question. As traditional jobs and safety nets feel less and less certain for everyone everywhere, are the lines between Nairobi's hustle and our own really that clear anymore? In our own ways, are we all learning to hustle?